Excellent. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our February Sustainability Oversight Committee meeting. I'm opening the meeting. We have a quorum, and I think we're starting with our approval of the January minutes. So I think Everett's going to scroll through for everyone to look at. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes? You can unmute. Or any questions about the minutes? Yep. Thank you, Bill.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, excellent. Minutes approved. Oh, I forgot our open forum. Do we have an open forum? Do we have any other guests who are on our Zoom who want to speak? I apologize. I skipped the open forum.
Aaron, the only thing I will say is that it looks like we have a guest, Mr. Matt Brown from Fairport. I know he's attended some of our meetings in the past, so I just wanted to say hello and welcome once again.
Welcome, Matt. Okay, so why don't do we have any announcements, Everett?
Nope, at this time.
Okay, so why don't we move to our guest speaker, Matt Corona from HeatSmart Monroe. Matt's going to do a presentation on the possibility of us working on a campaign that'd be points towards our CEC goals. So I'm going to give you the floor, Matt.
Thank you, Erin. And thanks for having me, everybody, and for carving some time out of your schedule for this. So I have less of a presentation and more of here to, talk and maybe have a discussion about what it would look like for Brighton to have a clean heating and cooling campaign. And I could give a presentation, I guess, or depending on what y'all want to hear about. But basically, I work for the Climate Solutions Accelerator, which is a local nonprofit. We're based over on South Ave in the city of Rochester, but not too far from Brighton at all. And basically, we want to facilitate a clean and equitable transition to clean energy and reduce climate emissions, reduce greenhouse gas emissions to eliminate our effect on climate change. So anyway, what I do there is I run the HeatSmart Monroe campaign, and HeatSmart is basically a free and public resource. We're an outreach and education campaign for home energy efficiency and clean heating and cooling technology. So our ultimate goals are to help homes, number one, reduce energy usage, and number two, switch to clean heating and cooling technologies, namely heat pumps. Heat pumps are all electric and very energy efficient, and are in a stage right now in our climate where they're really breaking into the mainstream as like a very normal heating and cooling solution for homes. So what our campaign does is like really try to provide accurate information about the technology and help folks find the incentives from the state that work for them, and also connect with contractors locally that make sense for what they need. And in a lot of ways, we help our guide for folks to find contractors. We help smooth over issues they have with the contractors, and answer questions and act as like a unbiased third party. So what we're hoping to do is partner with local municipalities, in Monroe County, because that's where our campaign is focused, to help you guys take advantage of the Clean Energy Communities program as well. So we're looking to partner with the town, and also potentially with Color Brighton Green, to basically have like a team of people together to help, do a mini version of this clean heating and cooling campaign in Brighton. And We can talk about what that, would require from the town in terms of commitment and effort. It really isn't that much. A lot of the background work would be basically just me funneling people to our campaign. From the town, whatever support we can get would be awesome, for like mailers or social media. There is a document we'd have to submit to get going, and I can talk about what that is and, what sort of work that was required for that. Really not too much. A lot of it would be myself and someone from Color Bright and Green, I think. But it would require like someone from the town to be our liaison in a way. That might, be to approve creatives, like, like a mailer or like a flyer or a social media post that we use as the town logo. But there would be a little bit of work to put the scoping document together in the beginning, and then going forward from there, it'd be a very minimal time commitment from the town, and we don't need any sort of financial commitment. Although if the town were able to provide, money for mailers or anything, that would be awesome, although by no means required. So yeah, I guess I'll open up for questions about any of that. I can talk a little bit more actually. So we're doing this campaign in Penfield already, and I could talk about what that's looked like. We've done some educational events at the community center there, and basically we're trying to, we could do anything that makes sense for Brighton though. What I want to do is what you folks who live in Brighton think is going to make the most sense for your community. So I guess we could talk about what, sort of outreach events make sense, or what activities we can canvas. There's, I already have some ideas, but it would be great to talk to the folks in Brighton and see what they want too.
And just to get everybody sort of on the right page, there's already an event planned through Color Bright and Green on March 24th to sort of promote this. It's going on at the library and on Zoom. This will be the second event that's sort of promoting this. So it'd just be a matter of, the town getting on board and sort of, from what I understand, and Matt can clarify this, just saying that this is also a town initiative, because Color Bright and Green is already going to put some of the legwork into it. And then we could get points towards clean energy communities and towards our next step in the grants. Right.
So it'd be great, we're already planning this event. If we can use that as maybe the start of the campaign to, get credit for it. And they did just up the clean energy communities points from 200 for the campaign. It used to be 200, now it's 500. So pretty big increase that just happened a couple months ago. Or maybe it was last month, but yeah, definitely makes it more valuable as a part of that program.
Hey, Matt, Everett Garcia, town engineer for Brighton. It sounds like apart from, let's say, a more local component to the campaign, what other benefits are there for, at the town level? Because it sounds like there's already a campaign going on at the county level. So can you, I guess, just explain a little bit of what other benefits might there be at the local town level?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the biggest benefit is further advancing Brighton toward the use of, getting off of fossil fuels, helping the Brighton housing stock, weatherize their homes if they need to. So connecting folks to, the weatherization programs that are out there. There's some great grants from the state. Not some are income-based, some are not. There's stuff available for everybody. So making people in Brighton aware of those programs that are already existing and connecting them to the existing dollars that are there to help them is, a benefit to the people in Brighton. And, I do the campaign from Monroe County. Honestly, I'm only one person. So having folks in Brighton, Color Bright and Green, be a part of these events and helping to get the word out there, and as well as having the voice of the town to back the campaign as well, having the town's name involved means a lot, especially to people, of course, living in Brighton who are going to see, oh, the town is doing this, it must be something I can trust. So that was what I would say.
Great, thank you.
Hi, this is Bill Baer, a committee member. How is Climate Solutions Accelerator, how did they pick this idea, and how are they funded, and are they funded in any way by the companies that are actually installing the devices?
That's a great question, Bill. So the Climate Solutions Accelerator, we're a nonprofit. As an organization, we basically live off of grants and donations. So this program is funded by NYSERDA, and NYSERDA stands for, same state agency that does clean energy communities. It's New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. They basically, there's a bunch of heat smart campaigns all across the state. And so we have the campaign for Monroe County. Basically, they did like an RFP, and they're like looking for organizations who can run this sort of campaign in their area. We applied for Monroe County, and so we started just over a year ago now. What we should optimally, we want to continue our campaign. I think we're set to expire in October, but we're currently like seeking funding to continue longer, and so that's pending. But
so there's no financial connection between you and the company.
Yes, there's no financial connection. We do have a vetted pool of installers that we basically pick to be sort of like our referral, like who we make referrals to. We have no there's no incentive for me to refer them to for people to them. We don't have a referral fee or anything. We don't make any money off of the interaction we have with folks. The installers definitely benefit from being a part of the program, but the reason we pick them is because they specialize in these technologies. And especially when it comes to heat pumps, not all contractors are equal. Because it's a relatively new technology for this area, there's some contractors who really don't do the best job and really don't know that they give out false information. Actually, that's like a serious force we can combat. And it's part of the reason our program exists in the first place. So we refer people to the good contractors who really know their stuff about heat pumps.
So you have a vetting process or whatever?
Yeah. So we basically, picked them on a number of top reasons why we picked them. Pricing, we considered their staff that, the number of staff that they have that can install heat pumps, how many they end up installing per year. We did interviews where we talked about, where do they see their company, heat pumps as a part of their offerings in the coming years, because we know we have to electrify all buildings. So some companies are like, yes, we're prioritizing this, and this is the new thing we're going to be, proposing to people more commonly, and others don't say those sort of things too. So we pick the ones who we know are going to give people a good experience with heat pumps, because every bad install that's out there is another person that's going to be like, these things don't work. We shouldn't install these because it didn't work for me. So we pick the good guys, basically.
Thank you.
Shibangi has a question. Great questions, Bill.
I think she had her hand up for a while.
That was long ago for the
Approval of the
meeting.
minutes, right? Yeah.
If you pardon my ignorance, but the heat pump is not an electric furnace, right? It's a different modality. It's a different concept, right?
Yeah. So there is electric heating has existed for a long time, and that's basically electric resistance heating or electric baseboard. Basically, how that works is you're just passing electricity through a piece of metal, and it gets hot, and there's a lot of electric resistance in the metal, and it just releases that as heat. Heat pumps don't actually create any of their own heat. They're much more efficient because they're moving heat from one place to another. And if everyone wants, I can totally give a quick overview and show some slides about heat pumps. Would that be interesting to everybody? Or
not at the moment, Matt. We want to unfortunately keep the meeting moving, although with great information, because we do have a climate action plan presentation from our consultant.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Moment, yeah.
And just as an aside, any way I can be like an advisory role and going through that, I'm happy to be as well. So.
I did just want to add, hi, this is Robin. There's a community campaign lunch and learn about clean heating and cooling and energy technology tomorrow during 12:30. And so I did just put the link for the Eventbrite. This is posted by, the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council, along with our clean energy community coordinator. So if you want to learn more and you're available at lunchtime tomorrow, this might be an opportunity.
Yes, please do. They run the campaign for there are counterparts in where is it? Ontario, no.
Ontario,
Genesee,
Wayne,
Genesee,
Genesee, Orleans.
All right. Well, right. Yes. Well, just two of those counties, I think. It's just Orleans and Genesee. But anyway, they're awesome.
Matt, I think there's a concern about, we have limited staff available. And you did mention, it's great. We would have the partnership with Color Bright and Green, which we really value, which would be really helpful. And they already have an event schedule, which is awesome. But the scoping document, is that a heavy lift for the town? Is that something that's already created? I don't know, maybe you can share information on that.
Yeah, and I have, so what's awesome is it's mostly done already. We have, there's a really solid template provided from the state to start with, first of all. We've already filled one out for Penfield. It's been approved and everything. Actually, the folks at Genesee Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council also oversee the Clean Energy Communities Program, and they, so they've filled this out before. We've gotten it approved. All we have to do, they're totally on board with sharing the templates, and all we'd have to do is basically plug the town's information in, and I can do a lot of it. Really, I think mostly it'd be like someone to look at it and approve it from the town. We might need a little bit of information. And we can, if there's any input on like what types of events the town wants or anything like that, we can totally incorporate it. I can show you the existing document I have if you want. It's a little overwhelming just to look at, but a lot of it is already sold out, and we would just need to plug in like a little bit of information. I think if I'm estimating how much time it would take from someone from the town, maybe like an hour of time, and if they optionally, if they want to be more involved, they're totally welcome to be, but we do want to make it as easy as possible for the town, because I totally understand having, really limited amounts of free time and resources.
Great, thank you, Matt.
Does anyone want to see that document? Or
Matt, if you can email it to me, I can share with the rest of the committee.
For sure.
And I'm not sure of our timing of tonight, but maybe this is something the committee can think about. And if this is something I'm interested in encouraging the town to do, but it would be good to get everyone's input or, approval of this. We could draft a letter of support. Robin, would that be the next steps if the committee is interested?
Yeah, I think that would be an appropriate next step. And again, if you have questions, there are resources. This is one of the things that Rob Richardson talked about during his CEC presentation. So, there are resources if we need to know more, but. I think the heavy list is in only the scoping document.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, it sounds like a good step. We've prepared similar letters in the past. So yeah, if Matt can get us a copy of that document, the committee can look it over, and then we can proceed with drafting a letter of support if the committee wishes.
Cool. Can we kind of approve it by email so that we don't have to wait another month to get it going?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to prepare you a little bit. If at the first glance, the document, you're going to look at it and be like, this looks like a lot. It's 9 pages, but honestly, there's not many things we would have to fill in. It's a few tables. So try not to get overwhelmed, please. Because the first time I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, but then it's really not that bad once you like tear into it.
Great, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so I think we're moving on to our climate action plan, and I'm going to let Tom have the floor.
Tom and Grace, yeah.
Yep, Tom and Grace.
Thanks for coming, Matt.
Thanks for having me. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right, I think we're ready to go. Grace, you can share your screen and I'll get things moving forward here.
All right.
Basically, what we want to do tonight is update all of you on some of the progress we've made over the last month since we last talked with you. We've been busy on a couple of different tasks, so there's quite a bit of material to go through. We reached out to this group for some feedback, suggestions on community groups to engage in this project and so forth. Appreciate everybody who got back to us. That was very helpful. And we're going to also spend some time looking forward to the first public event, which will be a virtual meeting. We hope possibly around the end of March, but we'll talk about some ideas for that and how to schedule it as part of this presentation. So I will, Grace, hand it over to you and you can kind of walk through some of these slides.
All right. So today we're going to walk through where we stand in terms of schedule and our upcoming events, which Tom mentioned will be our first public workshop. Then we'll review some of the feedback that we got on the community engagement plan and also the responses we got to the community group survey. Then we'll talk a bit about our plans for public workshop number 1, such as, our tentative agenda and format for that event. And then I'd like to share my screen and show you some of these online tools that we've been developing, like our project website and the ideas wall, just give you guys an idea of what those might look like. And then we'll finish up with some next steps and homework for us and you guys. So in terms of schedule, we are here at SOC meeting number 3 in February. And as I mentioned, our next step will be public workshop number 1, which we're hoping to facilitate in March. And ahead of that public workshop, we would also like to launch the project website so that we can use that tool to help advertise your event and get your community members introduced to that project website and a platform where they can stay in tune with their project and upcoming events. So your comments on the community engagement plan, thank you for submitting these. We received 3 really helpful comments. First one was to move the youth focus group into the spring. The second suggestion was to facilitate a climate action plan presentation at the 2 town board public meetings in West Brighton and East Brighton, which take place in the fall or the winter. And then the third suggestion was to facilitate an environmental justice focus group with a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. So I just want to take a pause here because I know some of you may not have seen each other's comments on the community engagement plan and see if anyone has any additional thoughts they would like to add or comment on any of the other members' thoughts that they submitted to us. No. All right. Well, we were very happy with this feedback and we plan to incorporate it into the community engagement plan. I'm not sure if this member is here, but whoever suggested moving the youth focus group to the spring would be really interested in hearing your reason why. We can be flexible, but it would be helpful to know if there's a reason why that event might be better in the spring versus the fall, which is when we originally planned it.
Well, I just thought this is Bill Bear, but I just thought the young people could be a real driving force for the climate action plan, and their thoughts sometimes are, I think would be better to get their thoughts early on rather than later because they're going to be most affected by, whatever we do. And I don't know if I was just trying to look on my phone here whether there's a club now related to the environment at the high school, but there may be a group of kids that are already interested. So I just think, that energy that they have, and if we could get them really interested, I just think it'd be great to get them on board early.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Bill. We tend to agree with you. So that I think that's a good shift for us to make in the schedule, is we will get them involved early. And I think, Grace, we did get information that there's a climate action club at the school. So that will
Yes, we did.
that will be a group we definitely would love to connect to.
All right. And then for the town board public meetings in West Brighton, East Brighton, I think we discussed this a bit at our last meeting and agreed that that would be a good idea. I know we already plan to present to the town board at the end of this year. So if that lines up with when we were planning to have that presentation, that would be great. And then in terms of the environmental justice focus group, I think that's a topic we can explore a little bit more. I think the intent of the climate action plan is to incorporate DEI in all of our outreach activities. But of course, the climate action or the community engagement plan is a living document. So we can look back at that plan and adjust as necessary to, swap certain activities in or out as we see necessary as this process unfolds. Any other comments on the community engagement plan, or we good to move forward? You good?
Yeah, I'll just throw out there, I think you guys did a great job with the development of the plan. So that's just a general comment that I had.
Great, glad to hear it. So we also sent out a survey to you all to submit your ideas for community groups that should be reached out to be incorporated in the development of the climate action plan. And thank you all for your responses. We got a total of 15 different community groups submitted through that survey, which is great. And I kind of took a first stab at separating those into different topic areas. And it really seemed like most of these community groups kind of fit into the category of educational groups or faith-based communities. So I thought this was a really good collection off the bat of community groups to reach out to. Most of them, you guys also submitted contact information, so we have that to go along with it as well. And then one other comment I had on the community groups was that there were fewer neighborhood groups than we expected to be submitted, just because the topic at our last meeting was the importance of including community members from all of Brighton's geographic areas, east, west, and central. So maybe that's a category we could build out a bit more in the future. But we don't expect to reach out to these groups immediately, so we still have a little bit more time to flush this out and fill any gaps that you feel are remaining.
I actually forgot to add my community groups. That's good that you brought that up.
Okay. Feel free to email that to me. I think I closed the survey, but you all have my email, so you can send your ideas over anytime.
Now
Hey, Grace. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Robin.
Oh, no, Grace, I was just wanting to mention, now that you mentioned the neighborhood associations, Brighton Neighbors United also has had in the past a fall picnic where they do like have a focus topic of discussion, and this might be a good featured programming for that event. Obviously in COVID, it's not happened over the past 2 years, but if they're getting that back up and running, then you can get all the neighborhood association groups together at their one annual event.
Okay. And where did you say that typically takes place?
At the Brighton Town Park Lodge.
Yeah, that sounds great, Robin. That's just the kind of event we want to tap into if we can. So we'll certainly put that on the list.
Thank you.
Now, Grace, I don't know whether you're going to do some research as well as to whether there's different neighborhoods have community groups like Evans Farm, or I know they have an annual, they used to have an annual, garage sale, but I don't know if they have a formal group for some of these larger areas, whether, I don't know if you're gonna look into that yourself or not.
Well, I know Mitch and I live in the same neighborhood, and we have like a Facebook group, but we don't really have a formal group, but that could be maybe other neighborhood groups have some informal, organizations via Facebook that we can leverage.
Facebook is tremendous.
I said I did send out an email saying that I have a Excel file for some addresses, but I haven't gotten any response. Where do I put that, or who do I send that to?
These are addresses of community group organizations.
Yes, or different emails that they go out to. So how are you taking that in?
Maybe
Because
email them to Grace.
Yeah, Shabang, do you have them as a spreadsheet? Is it a spreadsheet of some
Yeah.
sort?
it's a Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, just email it over to Grace.
Okay.
Grace, as long as that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's just a list of contact, the email addresses or whatnot,
Yes.
of various
Yeah.
groups.
Mhm.
So yeah, that'd be great, Shabang.
Yep, that would be excellent. Thank you. Yeah, we plan on compiling all of these groups and the contact information that you provided for them. So that would be excellent if you could send that over to me.
Okay.
Do you
I
have her
can-
email, Shivangi?
And no, it should be, yeah, I don't have
Shabang,
it.
I can send it to you, but it's in the calendar invitation, but I can send it to you.
I just
looked
put it in
into
the chat in case you want to copy it from there.
All right, thank you.
That's not easy to do for us older people.
Oh.
But ever, you're going to send it to Shivangi?
I can. Shabang, are you all set with the chat message, or do you want me to send it over to you?
I'm trying to copy it, but it's not
All right,
copied.
no worries. I'll send it over your way right now.
Mhm. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, so next up for today is to discuss the upcoming public workshop. As I showed on that timeline, we're hoping to host this at the end of March, and I'll get more into the logistics of that meeting in a bit. But first, I wanted to go over with you our preliminary outline for this event. So we are planning for this to be virtual, so hosted via Zoom meeting or Zoom webinar or some similar platform. And we envision also incorporating some interactive polling features into this virtual workshop just to keep the audience a bit more engaged, and also to use this workshop as an opportunity to solicit some feedback from the community right from the get-go. So with that, we would plan to start the public workshop with some introductions to the consultant team and also to you all, the SOC, and then do some demographics polling. So we would survey the audience on just some general questions like, where do you live? What encouraged you to come to this meeting tonight? And we have a draft list of those questions, which I'll show in a bit. Then we'll discuss some climate planning 101. So for example, why is climate planning important? What is a greenhouse gas inventory and a climate action plan? What is New York State's Climate Smart Communities program? And then from there, we'll get into more of Brighton specifics. The fact that you already have a draft greenhouse gas inventory and climate action plan, and that we've developed a community engagement plan, and we can kind of give a brief overview of that plan and the process that we foresee will unroll for your climate action plan. So after giving an introduction to climate planning and Brighton's climate action planning process, we'll do some additional online polling. And we envision doing some sort of SWOT analysis, and that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we'll use this as an opportunity to collect some preliminary input from the public on what they see are Brighton's greatest strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in regards to climate action or climate hazards. Then we will review the project timeline with the audience to show them what's coming up next. and then introduce them to the project website and the online ideas wall, which I will show you in a bit later down the road in this meeting today. And then we can finish up with a Q&A. Typically, whatever online meeting platform we use, there's a Q&A box so they can submit questions throughout. So depending on how much time there is at the end of the meeting, we'd be happy to answer any questions that roll through during the meeting. And again, I just want to mention this is all preliminary, so this isn't set in stone, and it's definitely open to some changes if we feel that that's necessary. So as I mentioned, sorry.
Maybe you're getting to this. What's your thinking about the timing, like day of week and time of day?
So what we were thinking was we would get a preliminary list of some tentative dates and times from the town and then send out a doodle poll to the SOC to find a time that works the best for everybody. I will say that we typically do public workshops in the evening just because most people tend to be out of work at that time. However, we have done them, on weekends during the day or other times. So I would be open to hearing some suggestions on when you guys think would be the best time of day to host this workshop for your community. I also should have mentioned earlier that we do plan to record the first public workshop so that if people can't attend, they'll be able to access the recording on their project website and watch it afterwards.
Is this going to be kind of like a focus group? Or maybe I should wait, see what time people want to do it. I would say Tuesday evenings are pretty good for all of us, would be my guess.
Okay.
We've tended to hold these types of forums in the evenings. Although I did just attend some training that said, we should be looking more at weekends, but I don't know. I think the public is accustomed to having town forums in the evening, and so I think it would align with what people are used to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. And we will be sending out a doodle poll for that as well, because we obviously want as many SOC members to be able to be in attendance as well. So keep an eye out for that coming from me in the next week or two here. So as I mentioned, we plan to use some online polling during this workshop to solicit some input from the Brighton community. Before I run through the possible polling questions, I just want to show you a video clip of what this polling interface looks like, because it's kind of difficult to explain over a Zoom call. But basically, it is a PowerPoint plugin. So, somebody would be running through a slide deck on this public workshop, and then a question will pop up on the screen with a prompt to go to a website or text a number to log into this polling software. So then the audience will see the question on the screen and on their device and be able to submit their answers. And then in real time, their answers pop up on the slide deck and are visible to everyone else in the audience. So it's a good way for the community members to submit their input, but then also see what their neighbors are thinking. And then during the presentation, we have the ability to kind of see what key trends are already coming through from the public. So now I'll just share this real quick and just show you guys what this polling software looks like, because I probably did not do the best job of explaining that. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear the audio, but we'll see. I don't think that you'll need it either way. But you can see up on the top, this is what the login information looks like. So everybody who's watching the webinar goes to this website and then types in a code, or they can use their mobile device and text it instead. Can you guys hear it? No? Okay.
Sounds like it's faint.
Okay. So this is a word cloud question. So the audience is being asked to submit words that describe walking in this community. And as they submit the words that they feel answer this question, they all pop up on the screen. So the audience can see their own question up there, but they can also see what their neighbors are thinking as well. And then all the data we can download afterwards and keep on file to reference as we move forward into other community engagement efforts, or as we're developing the plan as well.
So if you're not familiar with word clouds, what the software is doing is the bigger the font is, the more that word is being entered. So, in this case, difficult and dangerous are responses that we're receiving multiple times. So it's just kind of a dynamic way to visualize what all the members of the audience are inputting.
All right. So there are a bunch of different types of questions that we can use to this software. That word cloud is just one example, but you can also develop, interactive pie graphs or bar charts. You can allow open-ended responses, which just scroll up the screen. So there's a bunch of different types of questions that we can ask and have them presented to the community in a variety of different ways. So we anticipate using this polling software at 2 different stages during the workshop. The first would be at the very beginning when we're trying to figure out, who's actually on the call. And then the second round would be during the SWOT analysis. So we developed some preliminary questions. These are not set in stone by any means, but just to give you an idea of the kind of topics we are thinking about asking. First of all, where do you live? Town of Brighton, Monroe County, or elsewhere? And then also asking what their relationship to the town of Brighton is. So we're interested in knowing if we're mostly getting residents on the workshop or business owners, or are we mostly hearing from elected officials or town staff, or perhaps students, maybe others, people who just are coming to the town to, enjoy restaurants or visit family, something like that. So I think it'd be helpful moving forward, especially as we conduct the SWOT analysis, just to know who's actually on the call and who is answering these questions. We'd also be interested in knowing why the audience decided to attend the meeting, and then just for a fun activity and also to inform the climate action plan is asking what 3 words they would use to describe climate action. So still kind of give us an idea of how your community members interpret climate action and what they think are the most important components of climate action efforts. And then later on, we'll do a SWOT analysis. Again, these are just preliminary questions, so we might, change them up a bit beforehand. But essentially what we're asking is, what are the town's greatest strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats related to climate action and climate change?
So one thing we're looking into is whether our online polling software allows us to do an interactive map question. So after that where do you live question, we hope if we can handle it to have a follow-up for Brighton residents where they can put a dot on the map of the neighborhood they live in. That way we'll know geographically where our responses are coming from. So we got to figure out whether the relatively new online polling software we purchased is going to let us do that. But if we can do it, we're going to try it.
So that's kind of what we have envisioned so far for the public workshop. As I mentioned, this will be virtual. We'll record it and then we'll post it on the project website afterwards so that anyone who wants to look at it again can do so, or if they want to, share it with family members or friends to watch afterwards, they can do that as well. For interactivity, we'll have the Q&A box open and also having that poll everywhere polling exercise to help keep the audience engaged, but also solicit input. And then again, we're planning on having this at the end of March. I think specifically the last week in March is what we had in mind, but I'll be following up with the doodle poll to get a better idea of more specific timing for that. And with that, I'd like to introduce you all to the project website and ideas wall that we've been building. But before I move forward, are there any questions about the public workshop?
I have a couple of questions. How are you going to recruit people to the workshop?
So we will have the link posted on the project website. So one way that we've found success is posting, advertisements on social media. So, or, as the SOC, I'm sure a lot of you have your own avenues for sharing information. I would recommend advertising that way. On our end, we're happy to help develop some content for social media posts and also, printable flyers if you'd like to distribute flyers around town as well. In public places. That's probably what I would recommend.
And we'll certainly be using the compiled list of the community group contacts as well. That's part of the idea, getting that together.
I was thinking, if you wanted to have diversity, you would probably want to hit like, rustic village, economic and social, whatever, and Briar Manor and Blossom Village, and a variety of different apartment complexes and things like that. Or maybe they have their own bulletins, that they distribute to their tenants and stuff like that. So I was thinking that might be next door. I don't know if you can put something next door, but it seems like everybody reads next door, kind of. And then I don't know what you meant by social media advertising.
That would be like if the town has their own Facebook page, or if town departments have, some sort of social media site. We often find municipalities like to use those to advertise public meetings. So that would be another recommendation if that's something that the town has available to them and, access to use.
So we as committee members, if there was a good flyer, would we be willing to, I guess I would be willing to post flyers around town at different restaurants and stuff. I don't know what the legality of that is.
I assume it's okay, Everett. Would that be all right?
Yeah, I think, we would encourage members of the SOC to share information about the event, whether it be in person or I guess, or via email electronically. Ramsey, I'll defer to you here.
Yeah, in the past, when we did the project up Monroe Avenue, we did go up and down Monroe Avenue, talk to the businesses, and we would ask them to put up flyers about upcoming meetings. But you need to ask permission before you post anything on anyone's property. You also, we have, an email list from all of our different public outreach meetings that we've done through the years. So we can easily do an email blast. And we could talk with, as Robin had mentioned, Judy's Right Neighborhood United. They may be able to help us coordinate and get the words out to the neighborhood associations. So we should definitely take grace up on them, helping us with preparing the flyers or messages that we want to post on our Facebook page, which is the supervisor's office could help us with, or the flyers and having things posted on the website.
And so could there be a nice email thing, like I get from Square, or like, where they have a nice professional presentation rather than just there's going to be a meeting? Or I don't know, is that something that Grace would prepare or what?
Yeah, we will prepare the meeting flyer, which can be distributed both digitally or printed versions. So we'll get that ready for you in plenty of time and get it out to everybody.
It would be professionally done.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add, I know that Becky was soliciting items for the town newsletter. And maybe if we could get a placeholder in there, and then, when she's doing her final editing prior to print, we can insert the date in there, but it might be good to connect with Becky, or maybe even Bill can, Bill kind of works on his column, I think, for the newsletter rather late in the process. So if he could mention it is in his column or something like that, but just something in the newsletter, the spring newsletter that's going on.
When does that come out?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask. Although I know they're compiling information for it. I don't know exactly when it's going to be mailed, but it's definitely within the next month, I believe.
Yeah, that's the meeting's March 27th. When is the meeting? We don't know yet, right?
We don't know
We
yet.
don't know.
But yeah, that would be good. Maybe we can ask Bill, or you said whoever's in charge of the newsletter, to put a placeholder for this print ad.
And Bill is aware of the workshop coming up. I'm going to get, after this meeting, I'm going to get some dates from him. And his office can also help us. Bridget in his office can help us with some things too, to get the word out.
Yeah.
And Tom and Grace, Becky is our recreations department head, so she runs the newsletters.
Now the other thing is, I don't know whether I'd like to ask. I'd like to get a sense of where people are with things in general. So I had a list of questions I'd like to ask. Now, I don't know whether we should ask specific questions here or just try to get ideas, but I have some ideas that people might be interested in. And I think I've been like purveying these ideas, and Aaron says, well, we should wait until, we get this climate action plan. So, but maybe we could ask some of these questions as part of the community meeting. So if I could take 3 minutes out of our hour-and-a-half meeting, could I present these questions?
Well, maybe before we present the questions, we should understand like how this first online meeting would work. Because if, like, for example, Bill or other people have like, here's some ideas we want to get a sense of public feedback on, is that something that would happen in this first meeting, or would that happen in a subsequent meeting?
Well, since we're talking about ideas, I think Grace is going to take us to the idea wall, which is a tool, kind of a format exactly for that, for you all and anyone really to present ideas on the climate action plan and get the community conversation going.
Okay.
So, Grace, why don't we hit that, and then, yeah, Bill, we're open to hearing what you got for us.
All right. So I'll go through the ideas wall first, and then since we're on the topic, and then I'll switch over to show you all the website that we developed as well. But to start off, so this is, I know I've been saying ideas wall a lot, but this is actually what the ideas wall looks like. We developed a draft for the Town of Brighton's Climate Action Plan. So all of our ideas walls first have this little pop-up. This text may be edited. This is some just general terms and conditions that users, agree to before going onto the wall. And basically it is a digital sticky notes board. So you have different, note card topic areas. In this case, we've replicated that SWOT analysis that we're going to be doing in the workshop. So we have a card for strengths, a card for weaknesses, one for opportunities, and one threats. So this will be available to anybody, especially those who attend the workshop, because we'll talk about it there, but it'll be on the project website for everyone to use after the workshop as well. And somebody who comes to the site can click on one of the cards that they feel is relevant to the comment they want to leave. And then they fill out their comment and enter their name and email, and then submit their comment. And these fields can be adjusted as well. We recommend requiring a name and email, just so that if you need to follow up with somebody, you can. The name and email aren't publicly visible. It's just, on the back end. So if you want to follow up with somebody, you can. So I can just show you an example of what this looks like. So say I came to this wall and I left a note, filled out my name and email, and I agreed to the terms and conditions and add my comment. It then shows up on the wall. So everybody who comes to the ideas wall can see comments that have been left by their neighbors. They can read those comments, they can start a discussion thread, they can like or dislike others' comments to show support, or maybe, you know, that they don't approve with somebody's suggestion. And then if the wall gets really heavily populated with comments, you can also filter. So if somebody is interested in only reading about strengths or opportunities, they can do that. Or if you want to search for a keyword, you can do that over here. So I will now show you an example of an ideas wall that we've used on a different project, just so you can see what that looks like after it's been populated. So this is an ideas wall that we developed for the city of Lockport for their zoning code and comprehensive plan update. And as you can see, oops, sorry, go ahead.
I was just wondering, what are the terms of use, and do you have to put your email address and your name on the idea?
We could opt to not include, you know, a name and email requirement. That's kind of something that we'll leave up to the town and you all. And then on my end, I can program it. I will say that we do typically include it, just because I mentioned it's good to have some like understanding of who's using the service, and also to follow up with them if you want, but it's not something that you have to require somebody to answer to use the ideas wall.
What do people think? Do they think it could be optional, or you think it should be required?
I mean,
I think it should be required so people don't post. It could get pretty malicious pretty quick, I think. If
yeah, I
people are
would
posting
require
anonymously.
it.
I agree, and I will also have our town,
What?
said I'll also have our town attorney look at everything to make sure we're good.
Is there anything, does the terms of use say stuff like, we can use your comments in other promotional materials, or what are the terms of use? Is there anything interesting in those, or is it just kind of, or does it say that this is private and won't be used again, or what does it say exactly?
The template that we use for the terms and conditions essentially states that the ideas wall should be used only for the purposes of this project. Topics need to be relevant, so no like advertisements. We also have a statement in there about you know, like inappropriate content and bullying, profanity not being allowable. And then we say something about you know, like if you don't follow these rules, then we hold the right to remove your comment from public view. Haven't really had many issues with people abusing, you know, the ideas wall, but we do have an auto moderation feature as well built into the ideas wall, so that'll block out profanity. Yeah, the terms and condition is just a good safeguard to let people know up front, you know, how the tool should be used. But like Ramsey said, I think he was planning on running that by somebody at the town. So that language might change. That's just what we've provided as a template.
It doesn't say that the signee agrees to that you can use this material for other promotions or stuff like that.
Not at this point, but it's something that we could certainly add if that's
No,
desired.
I don't think it's a good idea. No.
Okay.
Okay.
We do have a statement on the comment card on that topic that says, that lets them know that their name and email won't be publicly visible.
Will not be?
Will not be, yes. So they enter their name and email. So we know on the back end, but on the front end, users actually viewing the ideas wall, it's anonymous to them.
Okay.
So we do provide that up front on the card, so people know that they're not, you know, putting their personal information out there for everyone to see.
Okay.
Right. Actually, that's a good way to segue into this existing ideas wall, which we developed for the city of Lockport. As you can see, you can't see anybody's name or email on their comment cards, but in the back end, if we wanted to follow up with someone, we could, because we did require a name and email to post on here. This is closed for comment, so you can't see the comment cards up here, but originally it looked like this, where there were different topic areas for users to select. And you can, like I mentioned before, sort through these comments. And you can also see which ones received likes or dislikes and look at discussion threads. So here's an example of a discussion thread. Somebody posted about this business, and then another person came on this wall, saw their comment and said, hey, I agree with that, and this is why. So this is just an example of what an ideas wall looks like after it's been populated. But of course, we'll have some different topic areas more relevant to the Town of Brighton's Climate Action Plan.
Can you show the topic areas in this wall here?
Yes.
What, the Lockport one?
Oh, they're closed, so I can't pop it open. This we launched this quite a few months ago, so we're not collecting input anymore. But we had topic areas based on different types of infrastructure and community resources. So we had a comment card for public infrastructure, which I think was the gray. Then we had like community resources. We had one for housing and neighborhoods. This was for a comprehensive plan and code update. So the topic areas were kind of relevant to the topics you would see in a comp plan.
Great, so it looks like maybe the bottom left corner of each color.
Oh, it does.
Provides a, yeah.
You're right. So economic development, neighborhoods, infrastructure, sense of community, and parks and recreation. But what we had planned for the Town of Brighton was to kind of have an extension on the polling that we facilitate during the public workshop. So in the workshop, we're planning on doing a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. So we thought it would be good to continue that onward into the ideas wall. That way, residents who aren't able to participate in the workshop can still provide the same kinds of input through the ideas wall. So it's kind of an extension, you know, the workshop is over, but your ability to provide input on the topics we discussed during the workshop is not over. That just kind of moves to this other platform, which is the ideas wall. And this can be shared with family or friends or others who weren't able to attend the workshop. Okay. And this is all in draft phase. We just wanted to give you guys an idea of what these tools look like. So, you know, some of the way it looks or the questions might change a bit, but just to give you an idea of how this works and what it looks like and how we think it can be useful to your project. And with that, I will move forward and show you all the draft project website that we've developed. This is an editor viewing right now, so it looks a little bit clunky. So don't mind this bar on the left here. I just don't want to publish this before we get the go ahead, of course. But this will give you an idea of what the web page looks like so far. We have a home page, and then we have 3 different child pages: project documents, maps and data, and a learning center. Right now, these 2 are empty because project documents and maps and data will be developed throughout the project. So we anticipate filling those pages later. But we do have some resources identified in the Learning Center, and I can show you that page in a bit. But the home page is where really all the most relevant information is. So we have a brief introduction to the site, a note that this is under construction, and then we have a little blurb on the project background and also an interactive timeline. So these pop open when you click on them. Again, it's in editor mode, so it's quite clunky, but these pop open one at a time so you can see what's happening during each season of the year and upcoming events that we have planned. Scrolling down, we'll have any online input opportunities that we develop posted right here on the homepage, so they're easy to access. So for example, we imagine that the ideas wall would be posted and embedded here. And then we also have an events calendar to let your community members know what we have planned next and when and where those events will take place if they'd like to participate. Then we have some contact information at the bottom as well. So the Learning Center is the only child page that we have populated so far, and this is what it looks like. So we just have a couple of resources, and we anticipate that we'll probably add more resources as well as this project progresses. But as of right now, we've provided links to the Town of Brighton, Brighton's comprehensive plan, the Bike Walk Brighton master plan. We have a link to the idea board, and we also have a link to a graphic that shows some of the past projects the Brighton community has completed. And then we have links to the New York State DEC's website that explain the Climate Smart Communities program. And also they have a great introductory website with some links for learning about the basics of climate change. So again, these are just some preliminary resources that we've provided on the website, but we anticipate, throughout the project, we'll be adding more resources here as well as they become relevant. Any questions on the website or ideas wall? And actually, I see somebody commented, can you add a link to the SOC? Yes, absolutely. It's a little embarrassing. I had a thought to add that already, but we can definitely do that.
It looks great. Everything looks really great. And I think the idea board and the public, the first meeting is a great opportunity to give those, we can be the ones facilitating some of these new ideas like that Bill has, and he can give some examples after you're done with this, Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a very impressive, it's very impressive what you've done so far, very impressive. And is this going to be accessible through the Town of Brighton website?
Yeah, Bill, we can link out to this web page from the Town of Brighton's website, yeah.
All right. So with that, we can talk about some next steps. On our end at BNL, we plan to finalize the project website and the ideas wall in advance of that public workshop. Like I mentioned, we'd like to advertise the workshop on the project website. So that's definitely our next task, is finalizing that website. Then we will continue preparing for the public workshop. So creating those presentation materials and also the polling questions, and then facilitating that public workshop. And I should have mentioned on there, we will be sending out that doodle poll that I mentioned earlier so that we can get that scheduled. And then on your end, we talked about this already, but it would be great for the town and SOC to work on advertising the public workshop. We'll kind of leave that up to you and how you would like to facilitate that, but we're happy to provide you with the flyer for posting on social media and printing to assist with that advertising effort.
Is workshop the best name for it? I don't like work personally, but or like informational session, or I don't know.
I guess the only thing I'll add is that historically that is what we've called these types of events.
Okay.
It's traditional, I think.
Okay.
Bill, it's like Santa's workshop. It doesn't really involve work. It's just.
One of the things that's a big part of the SOC's work is that we do have to shake the trees to try to get people to participate. So once we get the date set, get the word out. Every single member, let people know, encourage them to participate. We need participation. That's one of the biggest roles you guys have, is to get people to these meetings. It's hard. It's not an easy thing. But I think this is a good start with what you guys have put together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having either that email drafted, or maybe if, Bridget sends out an email, I know I'm on one of her lists that I could forward on to people, or the flyer that I could send to my network groups and post on Facebook and Twitter, etc. I think that'll be, if we all do that, well, hopefully that'll work.
Rand, you're muted.
If we all do that, I think we'll have some luck.
Yeah, we will get the flyer prepared and just have the date open until that gets decided. So we'll be able to distribute it right away to everybody on this committee and start getting the word out.
I feel like getting the students involved earlier as mentioned, and then getting them to use their own social media for the meeting attendance would help too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. I mean, the more we can connect these different individual networks, we'll just have a better attendance at the workshop.
Hey, Tom and Grace, as far as the finalizing the community engagement plan, it sounds like we're more or less there. All right, some minor tweaking. But I think we're probably all set with that document. Will you be sending out just a final version over to me that I can keep with the project folder there?
Yeah, we will. We'll pick up on the last few comments that we have, and then we'll finalize it and get it over to you.
Okay, great.
For the idea board, I have an idea. I'd like to put in some sections like one for greenhouse gas. I mean, see what you think, but one for greenhouse gas emissions, one for forestry and land use, one for waste management, one for transportation that includes bike, pedestrian, car, and one for building and housing, which would include heating, cooling, lighting. Maybe that's too much, but then I could throw my ideas into those. And those would be good starting points, I think, because that covers a lot of territory, and then people could feed off of that possibly, in addition to the SWATs. What do people think? Would that be okay?
Is the idea that there will be one idea board, like this SWAT one is it, and that's kind of the framing for the wall? Or is there gonna be another one that's like, yeah, like Bill's saying, like issue specific?
So we did not plan to have more than one idea wall, but we did include in the community engagement plan what we're calling the Brighton Climate app. And that would be map based, whereas the ideas wall is, just sticking notes on a wall. And the idea with the Brighton Climate app, which is a map based application, was to categorize more along the topics of what you were mentioning, Bill. Of course, we haven't built it yet, but the preliminary idea was to, have more topics rather than a SWOT analysis through the Brighton Climate app.
I'm a little confused. Can you go back to that SWOT board?
Yes.
Yeah, I was under the impression that people would comment on would click one of these things, and then they would then produce a comment.
Yes.
Yeah. So couldn't we have those 4 categories, and they could click on one of those categories and then make a comment? And then can people add other categories if they want, or how does it work?
Okay, so the categories that we develop are the only ones that they can click on. So in this case, we've built it so that they can only select one of these 4 cards: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. The comment field is an open discussion. Basically, they can write a paragraph, or if they just wanted to say in general, like our housing is struggling or something like that, they could keep it brief and just, write a topic in there. But in terms of the categories available to them, it's just whatever we define in the 4.
Couldn't we have a category of greenhouse gas, and then there would be a whole group that would be discussing greenhouse gas, or a category of waste management, and there'd be a whole group discussing waste management? That's what I would like. And then transportation, we could be walking and biking and car, and then building would be heating, cooling, and lighting for houses and buildings. People could comment on that. And forestry and land use would be native gardens and planting trees, and people would maybe have an option to talk about tree planting and stuff. And then that would be a whole, those would be whole discussion threads that we could have, would be my thought.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, maybe Tom and Grace, you could talk about, like, I know why you did a SWOT analysis, but maybe is why the SWOT on the idea board? Because I get what Bill is saying, and it, and there's going to be overlap. Like, for example, we have a weakness of the towns. We don't have curbside composting, but an opportunity is to have curbside composting. So I think there's going to be some repetition. So I'm wondering, I don't know. So what's your thoughts on that? Whether to do just topic related or the SWOT for the idea board?
Or both.
I think there's probably a maximum number of cards that you can have to be sort of efficient and feasible. Grace described earlier that we set it up initially with the SWOT categories because that was one of the workshop questions. So the idea was to give people after the workshop the ability to respond to the same threads. Bill's categories are also great. Those are sort of classic issues related to climate change. So we gather information according to those categories as well. You almost want to look at these tools all together, but our other big tool will be the climate app, which is basically a crowdsourcing app related to climate change issues. And that could also be a place to host Bill's categories. So when you open up your climate app, either on your computer or out in the town with your smartphone, and you want to make a comment, you'd be opening up and going to one of those categories. So I've got something to say about waste management, or I've got something to say about land use. So that's another place where we could do kind of an additional level of categories. If this group decides they're not that concerned about continuity between the workshop input and the input on the ideas wall, we can switch here. And we could do a different set of cards. So that's all this stuff. We're just getting it going now. And those are good things to talk about. So we can make decisions and we can certainly easily adapt.
I guess maybe backing up, what are we doing this for? What feedback are we trying to get from the community? Are we trying to get, climate solutions that they think would be good for the town to pursue, or, just kind of generally priming people to be thinking about climate change? Like, what information are we trying to get from the community? And then we have categories that are going to prompt people the best. If it's all around energy, if there's like an energy category, a transportation category, then it'll be all focused around solutions, or I hate that I can't cross Monroe Avenue, or whatever. Like, you're going to get very specific things. If it's these more general strengths, weaknesses, like threats, people are like, well, I don't know, it might snow less, so I can't ski, or I don't know. Just like what information are we trying to get out? And then that kind of dictates how we use the tools. How does this inform the climate action plan?
Well, this is one device for gathering input from the residents on what their concerns are and what their ideas are for potential solutions, and what problems they're seeing in Brighton right now. All of the above, really. This is a format for public input related to climate action.
Hi, everyone. If I can just talk about the experience with the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Action Plan. It really helped in terms of garnering public feedback to have a specific categories or key areas of focus. In terms of DEI, we had 6 key areas. Communication, education, and celebration was area 1. And then area 2 was engagement and partnerships, inclusion and representation. Area 3, policies and practices. 4, economics. 5, public safety. 6, infrastructure, housing, and transportation. So I think it's it really helps guide the feedback and how people think in terms of feedback that will actually be actionable if you do have kind of the areas of focus that Bill was talking about.
I agree
Yeah, that's
with that.
fine. No, that all makes sense. And that's so we could certainly set up the ideas wall with the categories that Bill's listed. Those are really good overviews of the main concerns of climate change.
There's probably
Well,
some.
maybe Aaron and Everett can review some. How many ideas can you have on the idea wall?
Can have 6.
6.
Categories.
Yep.
So I mean, I also I eliminated a few like pesticides and but that's not anything we can really do much about. I don't think it's a state thing, but and then water protection and I think those are the ones I didn't put in. But
Well, in the climate action plan itself, is it broken down? Is there a breakdown of sectors or something? And there's got to be transportation, energy, housing, whatever.
Yes,
Just
there
standard
is.
categories.
Yeah.
The original climate action plan has all those categories. And I think we should start this where the SOC left up with their own climate action plan, which is what we're trying to accomplish here by getting in the other profession.
yeah, I mean, we could do them all. Well, yeah, we could use that as a template, and then maybe Aaron and Everett could kind of put it together and something along those lines. But the ones I had were the greenhouse gas, forestry and land, toxins, which are herbicides and pesticides, waste management, which is recycling, composting, transportation, biking, which is biking, pedestrian and car traffic, water, which I don't know much about, and I don't know how serious a problem it is for us. And then building and housing, which is heating, lighting, and cooling. Yeah.
Well, I think it makes sense to look at what your sectors are in your existing draft climate action plan. And I assume those probably match up to what's in the greenhouse gas inventory. And maybe use that as a starting point. And hopefully there's no more than 6. But we can also combine them if we need to.
Yes.
So we could get it down to 6 if we, greenhouse gas and energy type of thing. And, kind of get them to 6 cards related to that. But it does make sense to tie your prompts for the input to the sectors in the plan, since that's what we're going to be updating.
Tom and Grace, what I'll add is that if we're going down this route, perhaps we want to also confirm whether there's any categories outlined in the climate smart communities requirements for the climate action plan, and just make sure we're in line with those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good point. I'm sure we'll be close. And, again, we can sort of play with how we package things into our final list of 6 categories to make sure everything's covered that they need.
Okay, good.
So if you want, we can take a look at those documents and the CSC guidelines. We'll consider, Bill, the list that you had, and we'll come back with we'll give a suggestion for the 6 topics on the ideas wall and let everybody here respond. And then as soon as we get a consensus, we'll add it to the website.
That
Does that sound good?
Yep.
Sounds
All
great.
right. No problem. That's great. Those are good ideas. That's a good discussion, and I think it's going the right place.
I agree. All right. I think that was all we had planned to talk through this evening. Tom, is there anything else that we need to cover?
No, not really. I meant to throw in at the start of the meeting that Lena DeSantis from Anchor QEA is not on this meeting, but she'll be back with us next month. And they've already started to look at their review of the existing greenhouse gas inventory. So on the side, that technical piece is already getting underway. And yeah, I think that's all we have. Is anybody else got any questions or more ideas or anything else that we need to talk about now?
I have a logistical question. So our next meeting was SOC is scheduled for March 22nd. But I don't know, I guess, how that'll line up with the workshop meeting date. And so I guess just keep flexibility in your schedules.
We
Yeah,
shouldn't have the
so-
workshop until the spring bulletin goes out from Brighton.
Just looking at the calendar, if Tuesday nights are good for this group, it means maybe the 22nd or maybe the 29th of March might be a couple of options for the public workshop. So I don't know if, yeah, Everett and Ramsey want to look at that from the town side. And I know you were thinking of maybe having Bill involved to do an intro at the start, see if that might work for him.
I
We can do that.
We'll check those dates. So.
Yeah, that'd be great. But we will keep pushing forward with the work on the website and some of these other tools we're developing. So whatever the date ends up being, we will be ready for it.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thank you. It looks great.
Thank you for all the feedback. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
This was a great meeting.
Good work.
Okay. Everett, anything else? Are we?
No, that was here I can I think I can. That was it on the agenda. So you know the last topic there was regarding the next SOC meeting. So certainly we'll, I guess, remain flexible on that end, and we'll button down a date. Look into all the items that we talked about regarding advertising, flyers, and all that. So we'll stay in touch via email until then.
Great. And Everett, you'll send out, once you get a copy of that Heat Smart scoping document, if you think that's necessary for everyone to look at. I'm not sure if it's necessary for all of us to look at, but, or at least you and I can coordinate that, how to handle that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. We can take a look at it, Aaron.
Okay.
And go from there.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Unless there's something
well-
else? New business, Nishbangi?
Yeah,
I think you muted yourself.
I think you muted yourself, Shivani.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Everett, can you just fill in on the pollinator garden that we had talked about?
Yeah, I've reached out to I think I pinned myself here. Seneca Park Zoo Society, and just trying to button down a date to just catch up with them and figure out what the next step might be. You know, thought that perhaps maybe some ideas come from the community in this regard as part of the idea wall as well. So really it's just trying to coordinate some of that discussion to further the project, but quite honestly, we have so much going on at the town staff level in terms of keeping our infrastructure running and new construction and farmers market building and all of that, you know, it has sort of fallen by the wayside. Certainly not forgotten, but it's something that I have to catch up and coordinate on.
I would be glad to coordinate a pollinator plant giveaway, which would be easy. We could give away for $1,000. We could give away 500 pollinator plants and distribute them throughout Brighton, echinacea and milkweed. And we could put a little description of how echinacea has been used for thousands of years by Native Americans for healing, and how the invasive milkweed is killing monarch butterfly. That would be easy.
Yeah, the only thing, Bill, is, I mentioned any expenditure of funds from the sustainability fund would have to go through town board review and approval. So it'd have to be presented at the town board level and pursued that way. But certainly it's an idea. I know we talked about perhaps at a future SOC meeting, summarizing and updating all of the new members and the whole committee at large as to where we stand with CEC, the Clean Energy Community Program, and the feedback that we received from the town board on what type of projects and expenditure of funds they'd like to pursue for the sustainability fund. So I think that's a great future meeting that we can certainly discuss with the committee.
Can we do that in March?
I mean, I think it all depends on how this. It doesn't sound like it from how this. We're planning this initial workshop. That should be our sole focus, I think, in order to successfully kick off the climate action plan. But we can certainly pursue maybe April or something.
Thanks, Everett.
No problem.
Okay, any other new business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Goodbyes, yes.
Thanks, Grace.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Tom.
to
Good job on the
everybody.
presentation.
Bye. Thank
Alright.
you. Great meeting,
Everybody.
folks.
Thank
Great
you
Thanks,
all.
meeting.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
bye-bye.
Bye.
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 No
Thanks, Everett.
No problem.